What would happen if I told you that anxious attachment is not your fault, but it is your responsibility, and that behind that urgent need to receive a message, to not be ignored, to cling in fear to someone who barely gives you crumbs, lies the key to becoming an emotional powerhouse, a human being who doesn't depend on anything or anyone to maintain their center. Today I'm going to show you how to eliminate that anxious attachment that drags you into suffering. And we're going to do it using one of the most powerful philosophies in existence, Stoicism. This is a motivational talk. It's not a quick fix. It's a journey. And it begins with a truth that hurts. When I was 19 years old, I fell madly in love. The kind of story that seems ripped from a movie. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. From one day to the next, her attention became intermittent. A read message without a reply. An ignored call, and I love you that took longer to arrive or simply never came. And instead of walking away, I clung tighter. I wrote more. I thought more. I suffered more. I was trapped. What I felt wasn't love. It was emotional dependency. It was anxious attachment. And worst of all, I believed that if she left, I was worth nothing. Years later, I came across a quote by Epictetus that changed my life. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. And that's when I understood anxious attachment stems from how we interpret love, loss, abandonment, not from the events themselves, but from our beliefs. Today, we are going to dismantle those beliefs. We are going to build a new way to love without neediness. Step by step, we are going to learn how the Stoics trained their minds to be emotionally free, even in the darkest moments. Get ready, because by the time you finish this video, you won't just understand your attachment. You'll have the tools to destroy it. Most people believe their suffering comes from what others do to them, from a left me on read, from a no longer loves me, from a replace me so quickly. But if you look closely, you'll see that what truly destroys you isn't the other person's action, but what you believe it means. They don't reply becomes, I am worthless. They don't reach out becomes, I am easily replaceable. They no longer love me becomes, I was never enough. That's not reality. It's your interpretation. And that's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics had a golden rule, a mental division that can save you from emotional chaos. There are things that depend on you and things that don't. Your message, your action, your attention, they depend on you. Their response, their love, their commitment. They don't depend on you. Every time you obsess over what you can't control, you become a slave. Every time you anxiously wait for the other person to confirm your worth, you imprison yourself. Emotional freedom begins the day you decide to stop investing your energy in what you cannot change. And you know what anxious attachment is? It's the habit of focusing your mind on what you can't control. Attachment tells you, I need them to love me to be okay. Stoicism replies, you need to love yourself to be free. And if you're thinking, yes, but it's hard, I can't help feeling this way. I get it, because your brain has been trained over years to need external validation. But just as it was trained to depend, it can also be trained to be free. Here's the first practical step. Every time you feel that pang of anxiety because they didn't reply, because they didn't reach out, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, does this depend on me or not? If it doesn't depend on you, let it go. Don't ignore it. Observe it and release it. Do it every day, even if you fail 1,000 times. Because as Seneca said, difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body. Think about this. Where did you learn to fear abandonment? Where did that feeling of anxiety come from when someone pulls away? The answer, in most cases, isn't your ex, not even your last relationship. It's in your childhood. Maybe every time you cried, you were ignored, or when you needed comfort, they told you, don't cry, it's not that bad. And instead of learning that your emotions were valid, you learned to hide them, to repress them, to fear that showing vulnerability would make you lose love. That's what anxious attachment does. It forces you to anticipate rejection, to constantly seek signs of approval, to turn love into an internal struggle. But here's the good news. You're not broken. You were conditioned. And what was conditioned can be retrained. The Stoics didn't deny pain. They didn't say, don't feel. They said, use it. If something hurts you, there's a belief behind it. A mistaken idea of what it means to be loved, rejected, or ignored. And if you face that pain with courage, you can transform it. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, lost many of his children, and still he wrote, don't let the future disturb you. It will come if it must come, and with it, the strength to face it. He didn't numb himself. He didn't run away. He faced the pain head on. And in doing so, he discovered something that you can find too, that your worth doesn't depend on others. Your center is within you. Today, I want to propose a new ritual. Every time you feel anxiety about someone, stop, take paper, and write down 3 things. 1, what you expect that person to do. 2, how it makes you feel if they don't do it. 3, what part of you needs to be healed. You'll start noticing a pattern. Anxiety is always tied to an internal void, and that void only you can fill. Stoicism isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's stopping reacting and starting responding. It's understanding that emotional mastery isn't about turning off your heart. It's having the power to direct it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the most dangerous illusion that feeds your attachment, the false idea of romantic love as salvation, and how the Stoics learned to love without losing themselves. Since we were children, we've been taught a dangerous lie. They told us there's someone out there who will complete us, that we're incomplete, broken, have searching for another half. And that, my friend, is the fuel of anxious attachment. Believing that if that person leaves, you fall apart. Believing that if they don't reply, your peace vanishes. Believing that love is something someone else has to give you and not something that already lives within you. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus said, if you desire something that doesn't depend on you, you are doomed to frustration. And another person's love, the permanence of a relationship, the behavior of the person you care about, none of that is under your control. But you can control this, what you build inside yourself. And when that internal structure is solid, no one has the power to bring you down. For the Stoics, loving wasn't a weakness. It was an act of presence and choice. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, love those whom fate has given you, but do not cling to them as if they are yours forever. And that is brutal, because in one sentence, it destroys the illusion of possession. The person you love is not yours. You cannot control them. You cannot hold on to them. You can only share your path with them, as long as both of you choose to do so. When you understand this, your love stops being anxiety. It becomes freedom. And if they leave, yes, it hurts, but it doesn't destroy you, because you haven't abandoned yourself. The next time you feel like you need someone, ask yourself the Stoic question. Do I really need this person to be happy? Or am I just avoiding looking at what's inside me? Then do the following exercise. Imagine that this person disappears from your life today. What's left? Make a list of the things you still have. Your mind, your body, your ability to learn, your dignity, your path, your story, your purpose. That is yours. It always was. And no one can take it away from you. There's a Stoic practice that, at first glance, might seem cruel, but in reality, it's liberating. It's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Visualizing the worst that could happen before it happens. Today, people might call it negative thinking, but the Stoics didn't use it to suffer, but to train the soul. They thought about loss, rejection, loneliness, so that if any of it ever happened, it wouldn't destroy them, because they had already lived it in their minds, and they had survived. That's how emotional strength is built. If you fear someone walking away, practice this. Imagine, in vivid detail, that this person leaves. No messages, no explanations, just silence. Observe what arises. That anxiety, that desperation, that's your opportunity. Because what hurts isn't the loss. It's the identity you build around that person. Your attachment isn't love. It's an idea you created, that without him, without her, Without that story, you're not enough. And that's false. Completely false. When you practice this visualization, don't stop at the pain. Take one more step. Ask yourself, what would I do if that happened? What kind of person could I become because of that pain? And write down the answer. Write it every day if you need to, because that's where your transformation begins. Not by eliminating the pain, but by understanding that the pain doesn't define you. The Stoics saw rejection as a form of redirection, as an opportunity to return to your center, to remember that what's most valuable isn't outside of you. It's in your ability to govern yourself. Epictetus put it this way: whoever desires to be invincible must avoid fighting battles they cannot win. And you can't win the battle of changing someone or forcing their love, but you can win the inner war, the one fought between your need and your power. When you eliminate anxious attachment, you don't become cold. You become clear, serene, unstoppable. The Stoics believe that true happiness isn't found in having or holding on. It's found in living with virtue. What does this mean? It means you don't need everything to go right to be at peace. You just need to act with integrity, courage, temperance, and wisdom. That's virtue. That's true success. Because as long as you live according to your principles, nothing and no one can take your peace away. Now, ask yourself this with brutal honesty. Are you living from virtue or from need? From love or from fear of losing it? Anxious attachment is nothing more than fear disguised as love. And that fear makes you give up your dignity, your peace, your center. But the good news is that you can choose. You can't choose what others do, but you can choose how you'll respond. Every time someone doesn't give you what you expect, you have two paths. One, react, beg, despair, consume yourself. Two, observe, breathe, respond from your center. And when you choose the second path, something changes within you. You stop being a slave to your emotions, and you become the architect of your inner world. Seneca said, "Nothing great is achieved without effort," and that includes your emotional freedom. It's not about suppressing what you feel. It's about elevating your response, about becoming the kind of person who, even in chaos, maintains their serenity. Anxious attachment makes you forget who you are. It makes you believe you're worthless if someone doesn't choose you. But you're not an option. You are not a plan B. You are not an ignored message. You are a human being with the power of choice, with a value that doesn't depend on someone else's desire. And that value, when recognized, illuminates every corner of your life. Imagine walking through the world without fear being left behind, without that constant need for validation. Just you with yourself, firm, serene, free. That is what the Stoics called ataraxia, the imperturbability of the soul, unshakable calm. And it's not something mystical. It's a decision, a practice, a commitment to yourself. Anxious attachment doesn't just stem from fear. It also arises from a confusion. Confusing love with possession. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to hold on to them. It means that while they're with you, you choose to value them. But if they decide to leave, you choose not to lose yourself. Epictetus explained it this way: when you embrace your child or your spouse, say to yourself, "I am embracing a mortal, so if they die, you will not be disturbed." This is not cruelty. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that nothing is eternal, that everything external can leave, and still you can remain. Love, for the Stoics, was virtue in action, not need, not emotional slavery. Redefining how you love. Loving with anxious attachment is wanting control. Loving with Stoic wisdom is wanting to contribute. When you love from fear, you seek guarantees. When you love from virtue, you seek growth. One says, "Don't leave me, I need you." The other says, "I choose you today, but if you decide to go, I will still know who I am." That is true love, because only someone who is free can truly love. The one who depends begs. The one who is complete on their own offers. Every time you find yourself trapped in the fear of losing someone, repeat this: I do not own anyone. I share my path with those who also wish to share theirs. And if that path diverges, I will keep walking without losing myself. Make this phrase your shield. your compass, your mantra, because detachment doesn't mean ceasing to love. It means loving without losing your freedom. And when you can do that, you become an emotional powerhouse, not because you don't feel, but because you feel with your soul, yet act with awareness, not from impulse, but from power. That is the true transformation, moving from asking for love to embodying love, from your center, from your truth, from your virtue. Perhaps for years you believed you were weak for feeling so deeply, that you were insufficient for not being able to let go, that your emotional intensity was a curse. But it's not. Feeling intensely is a gift. The problem was never your capacity to love, but that you directed it outward before building yourself from within. And that's where Stoicism becomes medicine. It doesn't numb you, it strengthens you. It reminds you that you don't need permission to reclaim your dignity, that you don't have to beg for love to validate yourself, that the journey back to yourself begins when you stop waiting and decide to act. Anxious attachment dies the day you take full responsibility for your life, for your peace, for your balance. It's no longer your ex's fault, or your parents', or the person who ignored you. It's your path, your evolution, your training. Seneca wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than necessary." And you've suffered enough. You've lived for others long enough. It's time to return to yourself, to stop giving away your power every time someone looks at you or stops looking. You're not competing for anyone's attention. You're competing with the version of yourself that hasn't yet awakened, the one that still clings to pain because it feels familiar. But you weren't made to survive from lack. You were made to flourish from awareness. Today, you could decide to be your refuge, your calm, your strength. And from there, if someone chooses to walk beside you, it will be a choice, not a need. Presence, not emptiness. Love, not addiction. Because an emotional powerhouse isn't someone who doesn't feel. It's someone who has turned their pain into power and their solitude into a sanctuary. I want you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize this moment. You're standing, alone, but not from lack, from wholeness. There's no anxiety in your chest. You're no longer waiting for the message that doesn't arrive. You're no longer defining yourself by someone else's love. You're there, whole, free, solid, because you've understood that the greatest betrayal wasn't someone walking away. The greatest betrayal was abandoning yourself. Every time you believed that without that person, you weren't enough. But that's over now. Now you walk with your soul upright, with a trained heart, with a clear mind. Final reinforcement of identity. You are not a mistake. You are not excess. You are not an emotional burden. You are consciousness. You are control fire. You are learned temperance. You are strength forged in adversity. You are the storm that learned to calm itself. And that makes you indestructible. From today onward, every time you feel the old attachment returning, remember this. You are not the same person anymore. You have begun the path of the Stoic. And that path, though sometimes lonely, leads you straight to your most powerful self. It's not easy. It's not quick, but it's real. And whoever walks it never returns to being the same. Welcome to your rebirth. Welcome to conscious detachment. Welcome to freedom. Welcome to yourself.
Remember, practicing Stoicism is a daily journey toward inner peace and resilience. If this video has inspired you to reflect or helped you see things from a different perspective, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Which idea resonated with you the most? How do you apply Stoic discipline in your life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we will continue exploring the wisdom of the great Stoics and discovering how to apply it to our modern lives. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next video. Keep cultivating strength with every step and share your journey with us.